Hey, there it's me Eden. If you are new to the channel then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access. Link in the comment, thanks. I looked from one to the other. The last thing I wanted was for my knickers to be on show, especially as they had convinced me to wear girls' knickers. I shuddered at the thought. It was going to be bad enough to be on stage dressed as a girl, but for my skirt to start riding up and show everyone I was wearing girls' knickers would be far worse. Wearing a skirt would make me a bit of a joker, wearing knickers just made me a sissy. They could see my resolve beginning to weaken. Come on Steve, it'd be far better to wear the slip, urged Anita. Yeah, and it'll help you feel more girly, added Nikki. This alarmed me. I don't want to feel more girly than I already do. Oh Steve, we've been through this before, said Anita, with her exasperation evident in her voice. You have to feel girly to be able to carry this off properly. Yeah, agreed Nikki without hesitation. The more girly you feel, the more girly you'll act. And the more girly you act, the more likely you are to win, said Anita, by way of completion. I looked again at the slip Anita was holding. They were right enough in one thing. I would certainly feel girly wearing that. It was made from smooth nylon, and apart from the scalloping, the pretty pink flowers around the hem made it about as girly as anything could be. But my mind raced to the alternative, to have my knickers exposed as I walked onto the stage. Surely that would be worse. Go on Steve, at least give it a go, urged Anita again, her blue eyes looking pleadingly at me. There was silence again as I was torn between the two horrors facing me. Slowly, almost involuntarily, my hand began to move to take the petticoat off Anita. She obviously sensed this, even though I urged it to stop. I'll hold it out for you, she said eagerly, holding the waistband of the slip at knee level in front of me. All you have to do is step into it. It won't bite you, Nikki assured me. I glared at her for a second, and then back at the open waist of the petticoat. My foot, trembling, began to lift, and slowly, I put it into the open mouth. Even slower, I raised the other foot, and stepped right into the garment. It was done, I was in it. Anita looked up at me with delight on her face, and raised the thing right up under my jumper, while Nikki looked on fascinated. She turned it around a little, and then stepped back. They both looked at me for a few moments, and then burst out laughing. Oh Steve, you look adorable, squealed Anita between laughs. Absolutely adorable. It looks like a little tutu, exclaimed Nikki, equally helpless with laughter. He looks like a little ballerina. Yes, agreed Anita, obviously delighted with the thought, either that or a little fairy princess. This caused renewed laughter. I tried to look down at myself to see what all the fuss was about, but couldn't really see anything, other than the hem of the slip 5 or 6 inches below my groin. You look so good in it, Anita declared, it's really fantastic. It suits you, even more than the knickers did. Nikki added. Yes, you're a natural for this girly stuff, Anita went on. To be honest, I always feel a bit awkward in a slip, but you look gorgeous in one. Yes, agreed Nikki. I don't know what it is, but the more feminine things are, the more they seem to suit you. Again they both laughed loudly at this. I was going scarlet with shame as their teasing continued. Just look at him, declared Anita. There's no way you'd think he was a boy now, is there? No, agreed Nikki. No way on earth. God Steve, you make such a beautiful girl, I love it, announced Anita, and with that, she ran across the room, put her arms around me, and pecked me on the cheek. I blushed even deeper at this. The woman I loved thought I made a beautiful girl. Surely that meant she would never be mine. Anita beamed at me, as I stood there embarrassed. Nikki looked on from across the room, and thankfully made no move to embrace me as Anita had. Well, you know what's next, Anita announced. All you need now is your skirt and you'll be the complete schoolgirl. Yes, agreed Nikki. I didn't say anything. Having failed to resist the pressure to wear knickers and a slip, I knew that it would be hopeless to attempt to avoid a skirt. I've sorted him one out, Anita went on. You know, that nice black one I wear to school sometimes. Immediately a vision of Anita in the skirt in question came to my mind. It was short and simple, but on her it created a picture of irresistible desirability. The trouble is, continued Anita, I've got a feeling it might be too short. What did the rules say again? You know, about how many inches above the knee skirts were supposed to be? I don't know. I've forgotten, Nikki responded. Hang on, let's have another look. She walked over to the pile of paper on the coffee table, and eventually found the list of uniform rules. She perused them for a moment. Here we are, she said at last. No more than 8 inches above the knee. That's a bit of a problem. I think the black one's shorter than that. Well, let's have a look, suggested Nikki. Anita went over to the bags by the window and produced a skirt from them. I recognized it well from the times I had lusted after Anita in it. She held it up in front of her to have a good look. Well, I don't know, she said after some time. It's a bit touch and go, isn't it? Yes, agreed Nikki. Have you got a tape measure? There's one in the top drawer over there, Anita answered, pointing to the wall unit down by the dining room. Let's try it against him and see, suggested Nikki, going to the unit and getting out the tape measure. Okay, agreed Anita. She walked over to me, holding the skirt in front of her, and without further ado held it up against me. She giggled. You'll look really good in a skirt, Steve. Nikki giggled too. Okay, let's see how short it really is. It won't hang exactly like this when he's got it on, Anita said, with her head slightly tilted in consideration. It'll probably be a little shorter. Yes, agreed Nikki. Still, it's only 5 or 6 inches above his knee anyway. We might just get away with it. It'll be close, agreed Anita. Still, it's worth a try. Yes, agreed Nikki. We can always measure it again once he's got it on. Okay, let's get it on you then, Steve, Anita said, lifting the skirt away from the front of me and smiling sweetly. Have you ever worn one before? A skirt? I spluttered. No, of course not. Oh well, that's good, she exclaimed. Then this is going to be a bit like losing your virginity. Nikki giggled. Not that you'd know much about that, Steve. Anita giggled too, and I was furious. I might know more about it than you think, I said darkly. Anyway, I can't see how wearing a skirt can be like losing your virginity. All I meant was that at the moment you're a person who's never worn a skirt, explained Anita, but once you've got this on, you'll never be one of those again. She and Nikki giggled at the concept. Yes, agreed Nikki. Once you've worn a skirt, you'll never be quite the same. No, agreed Anita. It's sort of like a badge or something. Yeah, added Nikki. You're not really a girl until you've worn a skirt. No, went on Anita, and once you've worn one, some little bit of you will always be wearing it. They both continued to giggle, while I again blushed furiously. Come on then, Steve, let's see it on you. Anita urged enthusiastically. As she had done with the slip, she opened it up and held it in front of me, inviting me to step in. I grimaced as I looked at it, gaping in front of me. Come on, Steve, encouraged Nikki, it's not going to hurt you. No, agreed Anita. Come on, one small step for a man, one giant leap for womankind. Both the girls laughed at this, and Anita dropped the skirt for a moment. She picked it up again, and struggled to compose herself. Right, and you get Steve, she said eventually, holding it back in place. Still I hesitated. Their teasing comments had unnerved me. Could it really be true that once I put on the skirt something fundamental would change? I dismissed this as nonsense, although the doubts remained, and with some trepidation, I lifted one leg and stepped into the inviting waistband. And the other leg, urged Nikki impatiently. It's not going to eat you for goodness sake. Reluctantly, I moved my other leg forward so I was standing right inside the skirt. Excellent, declared Anita, and she proceeded to lift the skirt up my legs. I could feel it against my skin, even through the tights I was wearing. Still higher the skirt rose, over my knees and upwards. You're going to mess up his slip, but never mind, said Nikki. Anita lifted the skirt ever upwards, over my hips, and up to my waist. It was now on me. Oh, you look delightful, declared Nikki, giggling in front of me. Hang on, I need to do it up for you, said Anita, and with this, she moved around behind me, and lifted the skirt up even higher. Breathe in, she commanded. I did as she asked, and the straps on the bra held me tight across the ribs. She fiddled for a moment, presumably with a button or something, and then pulled up the zip. There, she announced triumphantly. You're wearing your first skirt. And very nice you look too, said Nikki, appraising me intensely. I'll just sort out your slip for you, Anita said, moving around to the front again. She lifted the hem of the skirt a little, and pulled on the silky nylon slip. I felt it move against my bottom, and straighten as it did so. There, that'll do, Anita said. She backed away a little. Now let's have a look at you. He looks really good, Nikki told her, before she was in place to look. Oh, I say, said Anita, holding a hand to her mouth. You look absolutely adorable. God, that skirt looks better on you than it does on me. They both began to giggle again. He certainly is a natural, observed Nikki. Yes, agreed Anita enthusiastically. You look so good in a skirt, Steve, you ought to wear one all the time. I agree, added Nikki. How does it feel, Anita asked me, to be wearing a skirt then? Do you like it as much as it likes you? They both giggled again before I could reply. I could feel the skirt against my thighs, a band of material where I was not used to having one. I imagined that it would be very restrictive. It feels odd. I mumbled. Well, it doesn't look it, Anita went on. You look as if you've been wearing a skirt all your life, doesn't he, Nikki? Yes, Nikki agreed, laughing. Don't worry, Steve, you'll soon get used to the feel. Yeah, Anita added, encouragingly. Turn around so we can see what you look like from the back as well, she urged. I stared at her, and saw her looking back at me defiantly. Tossing my head in what I hoped would be a nonchalant gesture, I turned around. All the gesture achieved was that the bunches in my hair swung wildly as I rotated. Oh, that looks marvelous, declared Anita, as soon as my back was towards her. Yes, agreed Nikki. He's got such a lovely little bum. With this they both giggled. That's true, Anita concurred. It looks perfect in a skirt. They giggled some more, and after a few moments I turned around to face them again. I felt strangely vulnerable standing with my back to them, and was pleased to end the ordeal. Try walking around a bit, suggested Nikki. Let's see if you can walk in a skirt properly. Good idea, agreed Anita. I grimaced in response. Come on, Steve, it's important, she continued. Some of the marks in the contest are for deportment after all. That's right, agreed Nikki. You'll have to learn to walk nicely to do well in the contest. Yeah, added Anita in assent. With some reluctance, I agreed, and hesitantly began to move forwards. Not bad, said Anita, but try and make it look more natural. Yeah, agreed Nikki. I began to walk a little faster, which made the skirt whip around my thighs, restraining them from too big a step. Don't stride out too much, advised Anita. It's not ladylike. No, added Nikki. I walked up and down the room a few times, while they watched me critically. Please subscribe for the next part. And visit my Patreon page for early access.